one of my favorite baits to fish post-spawn to catch bass is the stick bait. The Cinco, the Yum Dinger, the Fairy Wand, whatever you want to call it. Very effective catching post-spawn bass. Stay tuned and we'll talk about how to utilize this bait to catch you a lot of post-spawn bass.
Shane Flynn Outdoors, brought to you by Omnia Fishing. Experience the most personalized tackle shopping on earth. And MMA Fishing, fight the bite. Also by Bent Rod Fishing. Get bent, stay bent.
What a big girl! Come on up here, buddy. Nice 2.5, 3 pounder. Wow. There you go. Nice chunker. I don't know if she's spawning. I think they're in post-spawn. She is a little chunker. Trying to get a little finesse fishing in here. She's been caught before. So let her go. Probably about 2.5, 2 3/4. Nice bass. Let her go. A little aerobatics for us. So I'm throwing a stick bait. Cinco, whatever you'd like to call it. Put a little weight in it. They're in 3 or 4 foot of water. Maybe 5 foot of water. I've been watching them on scope. And some of them are really active and some of them are not. So I think they're in that little post-spawn funk. Just got to get something in front of their face and shake it at them for a minute. Let's see if we can get them to bite it. So something to consider. You see a lot of people fish a Cinco. There's different ways you can fish a Cinco, stick bait, fairy wand. Someone calls it fairy wand. Or what's the other? Yum Dinger. That's another brand. I think this is a regular Cinco. You see a lot of people dead stick it, which works. You see a lot of people just swim it, which works. One of the things I like to do with it is I like to let it go to the bottom and give it a little bitty movements. You don't have to do this. You don't have to have that much movement, but just a little bit of movement with your rod tip. A lot of times will drive that fish crazy. That little bit of vibration, and you'll get a good one. That's a nice one. Where you going, buddy? One swing, get you in here. Yeah, another nice 2 pounder. Another nice 2 pounder. A good bass. That's a solid bass. Solid moony bass.
Couple other things to consider when you're stickbait fishing. First, the addition of the O-ring will help you save a lot of baits. By sliding on that O-ring and hooking underneath it wacky style, you can catch a lot of fish on one stickbait before it's destroyed. Second thing to consider is your line type. As you notice, I cast it up on this tree and the bait is falling down into the tree limbs. I don't feel the traditional thump of a bass inhaling the bait. I actually notice my line moving off to the right. It's not uncommon. That's a very common thing when you're stickbait fishing. They will just pick up a bait and start moving. And if you're using fluorocarbon, it can be really hard to detect because it's hard to see your fluorocarbon. So a lot of people go to braid or braid with a fluorocarbon leader. The braid floats on top of the water. And when the fish start to pick up the bait and move to the left or the right, it really helps you notice that and you can set the hook on those fish.
Fatty. Come on. You just don't want to come in here, do you? Go ahead and put you in here though. That's a nice fatty. Oh, I finally lost my Cinco. All right. It's a nice 2.5 pounder. Let this beauty go. Just amazing how you can catch these fish on the Cinco out here. They're so easy. So typically, I find here in Virginia, after the bass get off the beds, they go to that 5 to 8 feet, 6 foot range and go to some type of piece of cover. This lake has got stumps and sticks all over it. And all I'm doing is I'm just running around where I know they spawn at, the coast they spawn at, and look for the pieces of cover that they can get up close to. And that usually is an effective range for about 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a little shorter period, maybe longer, depending on where you live at. But they like to go to that 6 to 8 feet range after they've laid the eggs and get next to some type of piece of cover. Now they like to spawn against cover, so they're typically when I look for beds, I'm looking for stumps and sticks up shallow. But they like to get about that 6 to 8 foot range to hang out after they've laid the eggs. Depending on what lake you're in, it could be shallower, it could be deeper. But here on Virginia, this lake is crystal clear, and 6 to 8 feet seems to be about the right range. Now some of the big bass in this lake spawn at 4 to 6 feet. I've caught spawners in 6 foot of water. And usually they're the 5 to 6 pound range, 5 to 7 pound range. And to be perfectly fair, this year in Virginia, the spawn was late. We had crazy April weather. So crazy things were happening all year with the spawn. That's a good one. Come on, buddy. There you go. Another nice 2 pounder. Pound and a half or pound and 3/4. Yeah. Like that Cinco. Another nice one. I come out here and catch the fish like this, 2 pound and a half, 2 pounders, 3 pounders all day long. That's a great fish. Now, one of the things that I would tell you about fishing stick bait that can be frustrating some days, and you're not going to see it on this video because I'm going to not show you. I might show you one. You catch a lot of smalls sometimes. So just keep that in mind. You might go through 6 to 8, 10 inches before you get to that 2 pounder, that 3 pounder. That's one of the negatives of fishing a stick bait this time of year. And that's one of the reasons I don't fish it that much, is because you do catch a lot of smalls on it. But you also catch some good quality fish on it too. I mean, it's not all rainbows and Skittles, right? There's always something that you gotta work on when you're fishing certain baits, right? So the Cinco is a great bait, but you will catch some smalls. Now I see a fish back out of the water back there. I don't know if you can pick it out. There you go, another nice one. A couple other things I really like about stick bait fishing is it's not a hard technique, right? Anyone can pick up a hook and a Cinco or stick bait of any sort and wacky rig it and get out here and fish it. And it's got a high hookup rate, so you catch a lot of fish. It's got a high hook rate success. And it's a good fun bait to use. It's kind of hard to argue that it's not one of the greatest baits that's ever been made. I mean, I was watching a video the other day and they're going through what's some of the greatest baits. And, you heard the spinner bait, the chatter bait. Somebody said the Cinco, and it's hard to argue because it's been on the market, 20 years, and it's just caught a lot of bass. Now, I think the biggest bass I've ever caught on a Cinco is about 6 pounds. I catch a lot of 3, 4s, but it's not known to be a big bass catcher. It's known to be just a fish catcher. But don't get me wrong, people catch some giants on a Cinco as well. I think that was the carp, but I'm gonna. Wow. That was one of those giant carp. I hope I got that on video. I was like, that's a monster bass coming to get that Cinco. It's a carp. He had to jump 10 feet in the air. That was crazy, wasn't it? You can even get a carp to bite a Cinco, and that was proof. Well, hey everybody, that's going to do it for this edition. The good old stick bait, the Cinco, the Yum Dinger, whatever brand you like to fish with. Some people call it the Fairy Wand, like I said. Just a great post-spawn bait. This is the time of year, right after the bass is spawned, that I catch the best amount of fish on, the highest quality of fish on it. Like I said, you catch a lot of smalls with this too, but during the post-spawn, you catch a lot of good 2 and 3 and 4 pound bass. And just can't go wrong with this bait. You can't fish it wrong. There's little techniques that I talked about during the video, like the tight vibration shakes and things like that can help you pick up a few more fish. But high success rate with the Cinco. It's one of the greatest baits ever built, right? I can't disagree with one of the fishermen that said that. But if you are out there post-spawn and struggling with the catching some fish, just remember, if they're in that 6 to 8 foot range after the spawn, the Cinco is a really great bait to use. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, tight lines and good luck fishing.